Okay, now I did a video a few weeks ago about Chris Eubank Jr. called Where to Next that covered his split with Matchroom after they failed to win a purse bid for his upcoming fight with current British middleweight champion Nick Blackwell. Now, cast your mind back to December 12th when he fought on a pay-per-view event in front of a full capacity crowd at the O2 Arena on a card that featured Luke Campbell, Tony Bellew, Paulie Malignaggi, and of course Anthony Joshua and Dylan the Villain White, or the Body Snatcher. At the end of that fight, Eubank spoke about looking forward to featuring a more Matchroom event with Anthony Joshua, etc., etc., and then it just all went pear-shaped. Now, I'm not going to talk too much about the Matchroom thing because I covered it in my last post, so you can check it out if you haven't seen it already. Now, his fight against Gary Spike O'Sullivan was an eliminator for Daniel Jacobs' regular WBA middleweight title. So the question now is, why is he fighting Nick Blackwell for the British title instead of Jacobs? I heard the reaction from the fans on social media, which was pretty much, now you've gone from the O2 Arena and a mandatory to a world title to the Blue Water Shopping Centre in Kent. And many people are looking at this as a step back. And to be honest, I can understand why. I mean, both Eubank Sr. and Jr. have been going on about fighting Golovkin. They see chinks in his armour apparently, and he's easy to hit. But like Billy Joe Saunders said, if you're that confident in your ability, why don't you fight Jacobs for his title, then Gennady Golovkin like you've been saying? Why are you getting yourself in a mandatory position, then bottling it and fighting people I beat 3 years ago, i.e. Nick Blackwell? Now, I can understand this point, but in all fairness, Eubank did sort of say that he'd be ready for the Golovkin fight in about a year or two. Now, whether or not he will be or will ever be is another question. I don't personally think he'll ever be, and I'm a big Eubank fan. But my answer to Billy Joe's question is, he doesn't seem as confident in his ability as I originally thought, in my opinion. Now, up until his fight against Billy Joe Saunders, he hadn't really fought anyone of note. Now, although Saunders and Eubank had the same amount of fights, Saunders had beaten better opposition, and I think the Saunders fight was a bit too early for Eubank. I personally think that Eubank should have gone down the traditional route and fought for a British title a long time ago. Instead he fought Saunders, then he fought Chudenov, then Sullivan, got himself for a mandatory position, and has gone back by fighting for the British title. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not rubbishing the British title. I mean, if I was a boxer, I'd definitely go for the British title. It's a good belt to have. But when you're given the option of a world title and the British title, then there's only one answer to that. Now, in my opinion, I actually thought he underestimated Saunders in the first fight. Now, a lot of people are saying if he fought harder in the first 6 rounds, he could have won the fight. And I just think it was his lack of experience that stopped him from doing that. Now, I think it was because he thought Saunders was either going to tire, or maybe he was pacing himself because he hadn't gone through a 12-round fight before. Now, either way, I mean, his experience didn't stop him from winning the fight, but it stopped him from performing a little bit better. Now, moving forward from that, I think he was pretty easy to hit when he fought Chudenov, and he looked really nervous in his fight against Sullivan. Now, in the first couple of rounds, I'm talking about the fight, not the build-up, not the ring walk. I think the first couple of rounds he looked stiff. Sullivan caught him with a few decent shots, and he looked a bit rattled. Now, don't get me wrong, I think when he got into his stride, he convincingly won that fight, but I think he looked nervous when he got caught. Now, I definitely thought by the end of the fight that he needed to work a bit more on his defensive skills. Offensively, he's great, but defensively, I think he needs to improve a little bit. And I'm hoping that Adam Booth will notice that, and I'm sure they're working on it. Now, we know he walks into the ring looking really confident, jumps over the rope like his dad, and does the whole posing thing. But if you want me to be honest, I think the fight against Saunders left him a little bit dented, and I think that's why he's so desperate to avenge that loss. I think it dented his confidence a little bit. Don't get me wrong, he's still very confident in his ability, but I think it's just something there niggling away at him, and maybe it's Saunders, maybe it's that loss. Now, in my opinion, he doesn't have his dad's power, and he doesn't have a good chin. Well, let me rephrase that. He doesn't have as much power as his dad, and he doesn't have a better chin than his dad. Okay, so maybe he thinks he needs a few more tune-up fights before he hits world level, because like Anthony Joshua and David Haye said, when you fight at world level, there's no turning back from that. Now, most of your fights are dangerous and potentially losable. So if you lose, you're expected to stay round about at that level. If you win, you're supposed to progress. So maybe he thinks, well, you know, I'll fight Blackwell for the British title and then we'll move on to Jacobs from there. Now, on the other hand, maybe Eubank, or English as he likes to be called, wants his son to win the British title due to his love of everything British. Now, Eubank Sr. talks a lot about his son being a good ambassador for Britain, and winning the British title would obviously prove that, which is something that I agree with. Now, in terms of his fight against Blackwell, I think it will be interesting. I think it's going to be a good fight. Both of them will come to fight. Blackwell got a really good win against Ryder. He lost, like Eubank, against Saunders, but I think he did really well against Saunders, and he got beaten by Martin Murray years ago, but he's also got a draw on his record. So I think Eubank Jr. is going to pull this off, but I think Blackwell is durable. He'll be up for it, and whatever the case, it won't be easy. So, you know, Blackwell's saying he's 110% ready for this fight, and he's more confident about this fight than any other. Obviously, he's going to say that, but me personally, I think it'll be a good fight. I think it'll be either a late stoppage for Eubank or Eubank on points. Tell me what you think. Can Blackwell pull it off? Let me know. Please like, comment in the section below, and don't forget to subscribe. Thanks.